Today we're going to talk about the 7 deadly sins because a lot of you have been asking for it. The 7 cardinal sins. To put it simply, they're like the 7 sins that are the source of all other sins in this life. This is a concept in Christian theology that describes the fundamental vices of human nature. If quarks are the building blocks of all matter, then these 7 sins are the root of all man-made suffering. I say man-made because there is also suffering from nature, like floods, natural disasters, and so on. And because man-made suffering exists, controlling these vices is considered the main job of every single person. That's right, according to Christianity, and in fact many other religions too, humanity's mission isn't to make YouTube videos, it's not to be an auditor. Rather, it's the ability to want something but not act on it. Or the ability to achieve something but not show off about that achievement. This motif of a specific number of sins is also quite common in other religions. In Buddhism, we have the 5 grave offenses and the 10 evil acts, meaning 5 wicked deeds and 10 evil acts. Then there are the 6 poisons, which are 6 things that poison the human mind: greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, doubt, and wrong views. It also has some similarities to the 7 deadly sins of Christianity. These 7 sins are associated with 7 demons from hell, but actually the Bible doesn't mention these 7 demons. These demons are a mashup product of theology, folklore, and literature. And I think the reason they had to create this mashup is because if you just say, hey, don't do bad things, it's not good for you, it won't be as effective as saying, hey, if you do bad things, a horrifying looking demon will come rip out your tongue and dip it in boiling oil. Originally, there were actually 8 sins listed by a monk from the 4th century. They were gluttony, lust, greed, sadness, wrath, pride, vainglory, and despair. But in the 6th century, Pope Gregory I consolidated them into 7. And so we have the 7 deadly sins: pride, greed, wrath, envy, lust, gluttony, and sloth. And the consequence of this is that we have a ton of anime. Now, if you even search for 7 deadly sins, the anime comes up before the Bible. These sins are pretty basic: eating too much, sleeping too much, loving too much, hating too much. It's not good. Okay, that's enough of the romantic stuff. Now let's get into each one. First is pride. This is the most serious sin because it's the cause of all other sins. Pride is that whole I'm the boss and you're all of my children kind of attitude. Sometimes it's even putting yourself above God, and of course that's forbidden. And from that pride comes arrogance, contempt, a lack of goodwill, and an unwillingness to admit one's mistakes. And as I said before, each deadly sin is linked to a demon. These demons are often considered the princes of hell. And the demon that represents pride is Lucifer, also known as the fallen angel. Lucifer has been milked dry in stories, movies, games, and all that, so a lot of people probably already know about him. He was the most powerful and OP angel God ever created, not useless like this guy. Lucifer was considered the perfect embodiment of beauty, wisdom, and strength in heaven. But being at the top for so long made our boys start to wonder, I'm this powerful, so why do I have to serve God? Maybe I should try rebelling. And so with his pride, Lucifer formed a faction and picked a fight, declaring war against God. Some sources say that 1/3 of the angels joined Lucifer's side to throw down, and in the end, his team got completely wrecked. The rebellion failed, and Lucifer and his followers were punished by being cast down into hell. Once in hell, Lucifer was still the boss, but he changed his rap name to Satan. That's right, Satan the devil. And he also got the nickname the Fallen Angel. Lucifer's aesthetic is these burnt black wings, eyes filled with darkness, and a twisted halo. So I think the meaning of this symbolism is that pride can take a person to the very top, but it can also burn away their entire legacy, their very soul. And the halo it creates is just empty, vain, and twisted. As for the different types of pride, there are quite a few. First, there's intellectual arrogance, always thinking you know more than others. They love showing off what they know, bragging about how smart they are, and they never listen to anyone. Basically, talking to people like this is incredibly annoying. After just a few sentences, you don't even want to talk to them anymore. There's arrogance about status and power. Basically, it's the attitude of, I'm on a higher level than you, I have more power than you, so you better watch yourself around me. Arrogance about talent and ability, which means thinking you're better than everyone else. Seeing everyone around them as worthless trash, looking down on those less capable than them, even without comparing their different backgrounds and circumstances. Arrogance about appearance and material possessions, like attractive people making fun of unattractive people, thin people shaming fat people, people with fancy cars scoffing at pedestrians, and so on. This program is proudly sponsored by TikTok and Facebook. Lust. Lust is the expression of uncontrolled sexual desire. It's different from a healthy sexual desire, mind you. I mean, all humans have sexual desires, but it has to be healthy, it has to be within the bounds of morality, and with mutual respect and consent from both sides. In Buddhism, we also have the concepts of righteous and unrighteous sexuality. Christianity actually encourages righteous sexuality, which is having sex with your own lawful wife or husband. But having sex with someone else's lawful spouse is unrighteous sexuality. The foundation of unrighteous sexuality is lust, which includes adultery, rape, and bestiality, and other similar sinful acts. The symbol for the sin of lust is this creature. His name is Asmodeus. His eyes are also ablaze, representing a craving that can never be satisfied. Basically, any 16-year-old is plagued by this demon. This flame represents how human desire is a bottomless pit. The more you indulge in masturbation, the more it's not enough. You can see this in the behavior of watching porn or masturbating. At first, you only watch the lighter stuff, just two people making love is enough. But later on, it has to be more hardcore. It has to be BDSM, it has to be public, it has to be threesomes, it has to be gangbangs, it has to be BBC, all that stuff. And if you've ever been addicted to masturbation or porn, everything becomes more meaningless. And you don't feel like yourself anymore. My friend told me that envy is a dissatisfaction and insatiable desire for the achievements or possessions of others. From material things to status to talent to love. In other words, when you see someone richer or more successful, you feel that they don't deserve it and that you are the one who deserves to have it. The first dangerous thing about envy is that it doesn't acknowledge the achievements of others. You always hope they fail so you can feel better about yourself. There's a pretty interesting theory about envy, which is game theory. You might know of it through the prisoner's dilemma. To put it simply, this theory says that people would rather die together than let anyone else survive. Biologically speaking, jealousy is a part of survival. In a healthy dose, it's the motivation to strive for more. But just like gambling, if you overdose, you'll easily end up on the street. Envy differs from jealousy in its emotional intensity. Jealousy stems from insecurity and self-torment, but it still has a hint of admiration. But envy is heavier, it carries more resentment and hostility. The demon associated with envy is Leviathan, the embodiment of bitterness and hatred. This creature will mumble rap in your ear that you're not good enough, that everything should have been yours. You have to do something now or they'll take what's yours. The most basic act of envy is to badmouth someone to ruin their reputation. A stronger act is the if I can't have it, I'll destroy it mentality. And in the most extreme case, it's ending the life of the person you envy. Leviathan is described as a giant sea dragon that wraps its tail tightly around its victim, poisoning their mind with its venom. This symbolizes how envy makes people become petty, harsh, and toxic. And it destroys all personal relationships and gradually causes division within the community. Wrath. Wrath is a state of anger, but like extreme anger. And usually you can't control that anger. In more serious cases, it leads to fistfights, and in a fistfight, both sides lose. You get hurt physically, hurt mentally, and you could even go to jail. Wrath is the highest level among the red type of emotions, meaning those related to irritation. The mildest is annoyance because you can forget it quickly. More serious is anger. It's a dissatisfaction that you can still control. More serious than anger is hatred. This one is deep-seated and long-lasting, and it's intentional. Because to hold a grudge against someone, you have to intentionally hate them. But with wrath, it's all of the above, but everything is maxed out and uncontrollable. Wrath happens when you get cheated on by your partner, get dumped by them, or lose an argument and get verbally torn apart, or when you work on something together but you don't get credit for your part, or you get a ticket on the street, or when you go to meet your partner's parents and they look down on you for not being from a family of equal standing, or maybe your looks are bad while other people are more attractive. The common characteristic of wrath is helplessness. This means the outcome is out of your hands. No matter what you want to do, you can't. Because you can't control any of those things, and that helplessness is often expressed as wrath. This is a deadly sin because it creates a victim mentality, a tendency to blame others, and it hinders personal growth. Being filled with wrath because you're poor, untalented, or ugly, and then going around cursing people out and destroying things, that doesn't accomplish anything at all. It just creates more ignorance and resentment. And wrath is associated with the demon Behemoth or Satan. And to counter wrath, we must use patience and forbearance. But let's be honest, staying calm is pretty difficult, arguably the most difficult thing of all. Sloth, which is basically me while making this video. In English, Loi Bing is sloth. And the equivalent of sloth in Buddhism would be Si, which means ignorance or delusion. This means sloth isn't just about refusing to work, but rather a spiritual weariness, a loss of the will to live and to do the right thing. It means, you should exercise, but you don't do it. You should go to bed early to get to work tomorrow, but you don't. From a theological perspective, sloth is considered a form of depression. It causes a person to become irresponsible and to abandon everyone around them, not bothering to talk to their parents, siblings, or anyone else. They just hide in their room all day and speak to no one. From a religious standpoint, sloth is a disease. The more slothful people there are, the harder it is for society to progress, and it may even move backward. The demon associated with the sin of sloth is Belphegor. He is obese, but he can also appear in an alluring form to tempt you. The meaning behind this is that behind all that allure, behind those fleeting moments of comfort, there is an ugly, obese demon sitting on a sofa. Greed. Greed is the tendency to have an excessive desire for material possessions, power, or personal gain without any regard for others, or without any regard for the consequences. Now here's something interesting. God doesn't consider money to be evil. The love of money, or more accurately, the lust for it, is what's evil. Greed is considered a sin with profound moral, economic, and spiritual implications. That's because it taps into the human instinct for possession, and it isn't just about being greedy for money. There's also quite a bit of debate surrounding greed, because some say that greed is the root of social injustice and spiritual imbalance, but others argue that it's the price we pay for progress and prosperity. So it probably lies somewhere on the spectrum between ambition and greed. A greedy person will disregard all other factors and only prioritize their own interests. And those other factors are usually emotional ones, things related to humanity, compassion for others, and so on. In Buddhism, greed is ranked as number 1. It's called the root of all suffering. Things like corruption, cheating on exams, or teachers forcing students to take extra classes. For the most part, these are all driven by greed model, but we have to distinguish between greed, fierce ambition, and selfishness, okay? A selfish person isn't necessarily greedy, but a greedy person is always selfish in some way. Greed appears when people start to idolize material things or idolize their own needs. We see types of greed in love and relationships too. At this point, love has twisted into possessiveness, always trying to control the other person. Next is greed in society. This one is truly like a venomous snake. These types tended to collect private information about others in order to manipulate and exploit them. These people are willing to fabricate stories and exaggerate things to get what they want. Then there's greed for knowledge and intellect. Knowing things but not sharing them with others. Or wanting people to share information with you but refusing to let them share it with anyone else. And then there's greed for status and power. Wanting to be important and stopping at nothing to get there. Greed for talent or personal ability. This one is quite similar to envy and pride. It's like being jealous of other people's abilities. And then, trying to deny or overshadow their achievements because you always have to be number one. The demon that represents greed is Mammon. This demon is always whispering in people's ears saying, "You need more than that. Only money can bring you happiness." All my ears hear is, "If you're poor, get to work." This demon, it will make you believe that your worth lies in your bank balance and encourage you to chase wealth no matter the cost. Gluttony. The demon that represents this sin is Beelzebub. When you're controlled by this demon, it makes you unable to restrain yourself doing everything in excess. It also whispers in your ear, "Just a little more, it won't hurt." Sounds like the whisper of addiction, doesn't it? However, in Christian tradition, gluttony isn't just about eating too much. Instead, it's a dependence on material pleasure. I think there's a bit of an overlap here with greed and lust. But anyway, basically, this one is about focusing only on serving the body while ignoring other goals. And human beings have both a body and a soul. When you only focus on serving the body, the mind becomes sluggish, the body becomes heavy, and the soul, it loses its clarity because you're eating too much. From there, the sins of sloth, ignorance, and apathy are born. Another thing is that back in the old days, wealth and food weren't as plentiful as they are now. If you went to someone's house and devoured their entire food tray, that would be pretty offensive. Besides, eating a lot and becoming obese leads to a lot of illnesses. Just dealing with the treatments alone is a total headache. So everyone eat and drink in moderation. So that's what I've learned about the 7 deadly sins. We just compiled this information from the internet. So if you have anything to add, please comment below. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos. Goodbye and see you next time.